The world of the affirming team in today's debate is a world of chaos. A world where in the name of debate, they refuse to pass any meaningful legislation in any capacity to make any actual change for voters. We think on our side of the house that voters are entitled to a system that represents them, that is able to get positive change actually passed, and it wasn't enough for them to say it won't be good change, because the comparative in today's debate is they provided no meaningful change at all, because it is just so hard to get a majority of people to agree on something when they all have completely different incentives. 3 points of clash in today's debate. Firstly, which provides better representation. Secondly, on the quality and efficiency of legislation. And thirdly, on political engagement. So on this first point of clash, what did we tell you? We told you parties represent an ideology and they can respond to new events better than an individual can. We told you that they were more accurate at representing people than individuals were, because individuals are much more likely to have varied responses to events. What did we hear from the affirming team? A few responses. Firstly, that they're only elected by constituent committees, right? They don't it's not really a democracy because they're just put on the party list. We told you that these MPs, this acts as a vetting system, right? To ensure that your MPs are good enough quality, so they're not just some populist who doesn't actually know anything about politics to get in. And what we also told you is that MPs are still getting voted in by the public, so at that point we still think it is proportional democracy. Their second response was that politics should be about more than the ideology. And here we think this is flawed, right? Because parties achieve this too, right? It's not the case where parties don't have pragmatic debate at all. It is the case that they discuss the issues with them. But what is more important on our side of the house is that the ideology behind this pragmatic discussion is so much more closely tied to the ideology of the voters who voted for that party, and voters are able to have a level of predictability that they wouldn't have with a single MP. And the final thing to say on this point, as Ian quite well put out, was that they are standing behind a first-past-the-post system where up to 70% of people aren't represented at all. We don't think they can argue in the name of representative democracy if that is the world that they are living in. Second point of clash, on quality and efficiency of legislation. We told you in their world it would be less efficiency. Why? Because parties have manifestos, because they have stable majorities which they don't have to achieve every single time they want to pass a bill, and because they have stable leadership, which we talked about in Josh's split point. What did we get? Down the line, it was basically faster doesn't equal better. Now you're going to have bad policy. And what we heard from third was literally no discourse. Ladies and gentlemen, that is not the right comparative in today's debate. Our discourse is when the issues are discussed in their research committees, the issues are discussed within parties, and then the issues are debated in the parliamentary chamber. That doesn't sound like no debate to me, ladies and gentlemen. That sounds like a system of accountability and debate that gets the right legislation passed. Their side of the house supports discourse that takes years, is fractured and self-centered with no meaningful change actually taking place. Then they tried to tell us that local representation would necessarily lead to good national outcomes. We think we put this quite well at third again, because this is just not the case. It is not the case that everything that is good for your constituency is good for the national constituency. There are things that need to be traded away in order for us to achieve the best outcomes for all of us. And their side failed to recognize with that. So what did we get in this debate? We got better quality and efficiency of legislation on our side. Finally, on political engagement, we told you parties have simpler messages that people can buy in, and that parties have the resources to actually go and campaign that individuals don't. They just sort of assumed that people would be able to read 20 manifestos from all the people in their area, which is not the case. And then they assume that people care about local issues really heaps, so there would be this massive engagement, which is also not the case. In our world, we don't have the voter apathy that you would see if this change was passed. So because we have better representation, because we have better legislation, and because we have better political engagement, we are the side that took today's debate. Thank you very much.